Good morning, my fellow chosen ones. If you are a chosen one, get yourself a nice journal, something like this. This is thick quality leather made in Italy. And, because our life really is kind of just a crazy story of trials and tribulations and dying to oneself and bearing good fruit. And it really is kind of, our lifestyle is kind of like stories from the Bible. And, this one, I'm almost finished. This has been going on for this journal. I only enter stuff a few times a year, but I'm almost finished with it. I only have this much left. And, when did I start it? I started it 2002, December of 2002. On the first page that says, the story of this road trip is in honor of Kylie and Trevor Brown, my children, 12/23/02. The two best things that I forgot to write ever happened. I just said, ever, exclamation, happened to me. I was the most devoted father I've ever met or known, and my kids somehow or another are convinced that I was a terrible dad. I've got over 30 photo albums just filled with great camping trips, backpacking trips up the coastline into Big Sur with them, trips to Disneyland. I coached their soccer teams, their baseball teams, and I was the most loving, devoted dad. And they're convinced somehow by mother and grandmother that I was a terribly abusive person. When I had to witness, the grandmother would always abuse them physically and verbally right in front of me as a way to hurt me. Well, one more thing on this. My grandmother would their grandmother on the mother's side would just always yell my son's name, Trevor, like that. And it became to where he just would ignore it. But one time I asked her, I was like, why are you yelling his name? She was like, what? Was I yelling his name? It just became habit where she would just yell his name nonstop. Trevor, like that. And it would make anyone start to kind of, because it wasn't a kind-hearted way of stating his name. No, it was very aggressive and angry, and she would just yell his name nonstop all the time when she was around him. So abusive, physically abusive, psychologically abusive. And the kids would complain to me about the things she would do, like invite their cousins over and then bring home fast food just for the cousins. And they'd have to sit there and watch them eat it and go to bed with no dinner. Not as punishment, just because it was all about abusing them so that she could break them and destroy their heart. And now I think their ability to feel and to receive and give love has been greatly diminished, if not squashed entirely. It's the biggest hardship of my entire life. But I'd highly recommend, because I read about the saints a lot, and the saints in the past always had, at least through the Catholic Church, always had their confessor, and sometimes their confessor was the same as their spiritual director. And their spiritual director, when they would start to see that they're having crazy religious experiences, would say, keep a journal, And that's how so much of our our education above and beyond what is stated in Scripture has taken place in the Catholic Church through these wonderful, wonderful saints and mystics that could literally levitate, could bilocate, be in two different places at one time, would get the stigmata. You have no idea how many women saints got the holes in the hands and the feet. And sometimes it would just be just the scars of the crown of thorns. Usually they would ask for it. You know, Jesus never gives us suffering and pain that we're not willing to accept. So sometimes they would get the stigmata and they'd ask for it to be taken away because it brings so much disdain, envy, jealousy amongst very good, kind-hearted religious people. You know, like most of these saints were nuns living in convents, and when they'd get the stigmata, very frequently the bishop above them would think they were doing it themselves and would hate them, and even their own sisters in the convent would turn on them and hate them. But they all would start keeping a journal, and that's why they would keep everything private, what they're going through, and just put it in the journal so that they wouldn't get literally their own bishop literally sending them out to like Siberia and isolating them, because they couldn't stand that little tiny sister living in a convent would be getting more love and attention, and people literally traveling thousands of miles to come get spiritual consultation and guidance from them, and no one's coming to them, the bishop, you know. And so it's like, oh, how dare she surpass me, usurp my authority. But that's what will happen to you when you die to the world and totally give your life over to Jesus, and crazy and beautiful and wild things start happening. So if you really, really feel like you're a chosen one and you're just on this incredible walk with the Lord, keep a journal. And this isn't even my religious journal. I have a religious journal at home that I keep. And throughout any chosen one's life, they should fill several journal books, because that can be a testament to future generations on this walk. And so that people don't get discouraged and they see that, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, because it comes with so many trials and tribulations. Hope that helped. God bless.